Right, we have here a guinea crafter test. Little Mr. Furbutt here is trying to become a jewel crafter, but he doesn't want to do a lot of leveling, so we're gonna see what we can do with some average, high average rings of blue and purple variety, and a green or a white vessel with a Philosopher's Stone. Let's see what we can accomplish. First I'm gonna go get him some leveling dust. Alright, let's get little Mr. Furbutt up to level 30. Then we can properly compare. There we go. Look at that. Gotta love the test server. Gotta grab those stat blocks. Give him as much plus stat as he can get naturally. Cool. Okay. We have here some enchanted armor. That'll be useful. Some high-end rings and necklace. And here we have some more of a mid-range variety. Yes, I crafted a lot of things. That's what I do. No apologies. So we have 2 dex rings and 2 int rings that are either high quality blue or kind of a mid-quality purple, like 105 rolls. Like, that's not bad. Better can be done, but it takes a lot of work to get better. So I figure for a higher than mid-range crafter who's not an in-game crafter, this is probably about what you're going to be able to spit out and work with. And then, let's find the guinea body. Oops. Sorry, let me find these bodies real quick. They should be here. Oh yes, other experiments in progress. Gotta love the test server. Wait, seriously, where did my guineas go? Oh, it must be at the top. Because I named things. Yep, there we go. One with int additives, which turned out blue because I used a blue stone and it uprolled it. Whoops. And one with dex additives. So I'm going to just equip the dex one, and then with the hover we can compare. So, boop-a-doop, wow. Alright. So aside from the fact that the N1 rolled blue, whoops, we can see that it's only got maybe like 3 more intellect compared to the other one. So all in all, switching between dex and int appears to give like a +3 bonus basically. So I'm going to equip Jewelcraft, see what our stats look like. It's probably a bit overpowered that I already have a legendary belt, since the test in question will probably be with a purple belt, but this is test server and making a belt is hard. Lots and lots of clicking. You pay for everything here with carpal tunnel syndrome, and I'm already at my limit for the day on that, so at a different time, we'll try this with a purple belt instead of a legendary belt. I apologize. Alright, so the difference between those would be a bit of thrall power, a bit of the cap, a bit of experimentation points. I mean, eventually this crafter is going to get to legendary, so I figure for testing, this is fine. Because we're trying to see where effort is or isn't needed. I'm gonna equip my enchant gear because I'd be silly not to. Alright, so we're level 30, pardon my hiccups, and we already have 206 dex and 81 int without any points distributed. So what is important here is to note that we have a variety of rings that we can look at. We've got dex, some pretty decently rolled, if I do say so myself, and then some kind of middle of the ground rolled. Yeah, that's dex. I'm gonna lay these up a bit so it's easier to compare. So, like, a high-end blue dex, we'll have that. I'm gonna equip that, and then I can compare. That's the end, that's the dex. Okay, I'm sorry. So it's not super far off with the decks. In fact, it's basically the same, but the experimentation and experiment difficulty reduction actually appears to be a decent difference between the two, maybe about a 20% difference. But again, the on the rolls between, you know, say 100 and 120.8, which is maximum roll, the blue rings rolled at about 115, and the purple rings rolled at exactly 105. So the purple rings are like probably what this crafter could make, which is not bad at all. Those are really not bad stats. By comparison, a very high-end ring would have like one more stat in each category compared to that, and like 2 more in the stat category. Eventually, these might be achieved, or maybe not. It's just basis of comparison. Like, the little things add up, but they may or may not always be like super duper necessary, even if they do seem to make a difference. So anyway, I'm gonna assume that the high-end blues are gonna be used. I'm gonna equip those real quick. I'll just equip the decks. Yep. And note also, those are increasing the cap. The cap is 233. Cap on int right now is 214. This actually may be the problem in the current state. Oh yes, and I'm missing a 3rd ring to add more stat here. So anyway, let's see what we can do here. I'll toss on the int necklace. No, I'll toss on the dex necklace. We're just gonna see what this does. So, looking at the total points here, an int of 81, right? Let's see, when we look at, actually I'll go to the crafting table. Let me go to the EK real quick. Sorry. Look, going to the EK is going to give me the data that I need to see what actual crafting would look like in a keep. And yes, this one was paid for dearly with carpal tunnel syndrome. Dearly. Alright. Because I want to show you what those caps mean in practice. When looking at this crafter, because for Jewelcraft, the experimentation points are dex-based, but experimentation is int-based, I believe. Let me look and find out. Details. Crafting, alright. Jewelcraft assembly, dex. Okay, so that's the difficulty of the roll to even succeed at assembly. Basically, if you fail it, you pay dust, and then you get to do the thing anyway. It's not a big deal. Experimentation is the chance of good quality rolls, and we are very clearly already capped on this, actually. Check that out. 127 out of 127. That is the maximum possible, and this is intellect based. Okay. That's really good to know, and really good to see. Again, this is a white vessel that at 81 in intellect is already capped on experimentation. That's kind of cool. So anyway, the next one, the points, the pips, in other words. Current 18, cap 18. Well, if I drink a Sappho potion, that's going to show me what it actually will be in practice. So I'm just going to... Oops, didn't mean to get a sapphire. Okay. And just for grins, we'll just eat the full array and see what happens when we go to a crafting bench. Alright, again, this is with blue jewelry. You know, it's dex jewelry, and we have equipped, you know, a fairly reasonably rolled, fairly nicely rolled actually. It was like 115, 115, with dex additives in it, and not really any intellect additives aside from, yeah, it's good stuff. I'm rambling. Okay, so what I was going to look at is the pips right now. So this is capped. That's good. It's very easy to cap on this, and one of the main ways that I did that was I put on the hands that add cap, so that's good. Now we need to increase the pips. Let's see, that would... I'm blind as a monkey. 19.3. Okay, 19.3 with a plus 1.38 necklace. So, essentially, we've got 18 without the necklace. Alright, let's see what we can do for this. See, increased by dex. Alright. So, you can see that going up there. That's as high it's gonna go. 19.56. So, with 233 dex and all dex additives and all dex and dex cap rings, we still need this necklace to be at about a +2 experimentation point, roughly, to get up to 20 pips. But it looks like we can do this in a gray vessel. So it appears that Grimlock's theory about using dex and dex cap rings and necklace was entirely correct. Intellect in this case is not even needed. We are already at cap. And that's largely because of enchants and because of using those hands and slotting a very, very decent Philosopher's Stone in here. In fact, it was blue. I figured, what the heck. Also, the additives were legendary because it's test server and they don't sell any less than legendary. But we can see we're floating 123 extra points, which I guarantee you are not covered by the difference between white and blue. In other words, I think this body will be perfectly fine for crafting. Experiment success. If we went up to the intellect one, we would gain stat bonuses where we don't really need it. Yeah, so the main blocker right now is going to be the necklace. This needs to be a +2. This is where Jewelcraft is going to get most of its benefits from having both bonuses on the things. Like, when you're doing the final rolls, there's 3 categories: durability plus 2 other 2. You want to max both of those because the difficulty reduction is going to kind of push down the difficulty of the recipe, which counteracts the fact that your skill's capped at 127. So, let's say recipe difficulty is 100, and you've got 127. With the difficulty reduction, you could take that 100 and push it down maybe to 90, or even 80, or even 75 when you add in the tippers and the cheese. That'd be like -20, and then you've got like another say -8 or something from the rings. The more you push down that difficulty, the more you reduce the difficulty, the higher on average your rolls will be. And then pips are how many rolls you get. So that combination is what lets you increase the risk so that each of your rolls gets modified harder. But, you know, it's a bit of a balancing act. How successful will they be versus how heavily modified will they be when they are successful. Like, you could roll amazingly, but the rolls don't actually add all that much. Or you could have rolls that add a whole lot if you roll great, but all your rolls turn out shit. It's a lot of fun playing around with this over here. Okay, I call that a wrap. Thanks for listening.